Hi, my name is Kim, grateful, recovering, compulsive overeater. Weigh and measure off the GreySheet food plan, turn into my sponsor every day, eat exactly what I commit, don't eat between meals, and abstinence is by far the most important thing in my life. And the reason I am alive and my abstinence date is September 22nd, 2014. And before we go on, I just want to show everybody the most amazing chip I got from my sponsor. And here it is. Look at this bling. And it came in this beautiful bag for 9 years, the 9-year thing. And then in this like beautiful thing, but I don't know if you can tell. Can you tell how gorgeous it is? So I earned it, I think. Anyway, so I don't even know where I want to begin. I'll begin at the beginning. It was weird because I spoke yesterday for my anniversary, and a story came out that I'd never told before. Like really the day that I became anorexic, like I always said, it started when I was 16, but never actually told the story of like that first day. Just want to make sure. Man, you can't hear me, can you? Good, headphones. So I will tell that again because I don't know why after 9 years it only came up yesterday, which is, a lot of people know my story that, I didn't have an eating disorder at all. I was a take it or leave it kind of kid, food stuff. If anything, I was, when the truck came around with the cold stuff, I would get like the healthy version of that. I mean, it was like still the frozen stuff, but like always the healthy version. And that was kind of like, but either way, I could just, if I didn't like something, now it seems inconceivable. Like if I didn't like something, I would just not eat it. It's like, that's like sounds so foreign to me. So anyway, really kind of nothing related to food. I was skinny, not necessarily athletic at all, but just that, but I was very self-conscious about being skinny and just kind of hated the way that I looked all the time. That kind of continues to this day. But now I can kind of laugh at it. But I do feel like there's been a lot of my life wasted just staring in the mirror, like criticizing myself. And not necessarily just my body, more my face. So anyway, so then I was involved with this guy who, I was in love with, but he was like a drug addict, like didn't really know me or anything. But and I was 16, and then I had heard, because I was best friends with his sister, which is how I met him. And I had heard he had like taken too many drugs and was like running down the street naked, emaciated, thinking the FBI was after him and all this stuff. And I just felt like this immediate identification. I understand his pain. So I just, decided that I would stop eating too in support of him. Like he didn't even know who I was or anything. And he was probably already like in the loony bin. And anyway, and so that was it. Like and this story I told yesterday, I hadn't planned on it. I hadn't been thinking about it, but it was really that morning, like when I found out, and I was like, that's it. I'm just going to stop eating. And, I called it being a vegetarian, but it was like, nothing. I was an airitarian. I was just eating air. And so I just decided that I would just really wanted to be like super skinny like he was, and maybe even think the FBI was chasing me too. So that was it. I just stopped eating. And at first I got some positive attention. I was at an art school, and, so maybe I lost like 5 pounds or something that maybe it looked like I needed to lose. I don't know. I don't really remember having to need to lose anything. But then eventually I started to get negative attention, and I lost my period, and just like, just the usual. And, to make sure that I stayed skinny and anorexic, I just had to make sure that like I had the right attitude. Like, so seeing other people, a lot of people have heard me say this part, like I would just see people eating and just think they were bourgeois or stupid, or anybody that talked about food just had nothing else to talk about. And it was about the revolution, like, why aren't you talking about the revolution? and uh, and so that was it. And then I would do like this thing where I would like exercise tons. I don't know, like jumping jacks in my room or go to a dance class or something. And then weigh myself with my combat boots on. And if I was like 95 pounds with my combat boots on, then that meant that I needed to starve another day. And nobody knew how to handle it. My mother certainly didn't. She was a freak. And really didn't, was just like more angry. And I'm sure that it was really agonizing for her to watch. But it's also like she could have found some better ways, like yelling at me was not going to get me to eat. And I do remember like one day she was like kicking, like she had just gone crazy about it. And then she tried to like do all these things, send me to like her Zen friend who would like just try to get me be more meditative when I ate, and then a therapist who would just like talk to me about eating moderately. And like none of it made sense to me. And then there was one day where I had my first binge, and that was kind of my life. Like that was just my life, like binging. In high school, I did like laxative abuse, like up to like 100 X-lax in one day, I think. Um, so yeah, my life was basically binging and starving. That's all I knew. And yeah, that's just all I knew. And then I went to a very prestigious, like liberal arts, tiny college up in the woods. So I would just like, I don't even know how I ate or what I ate. Like they were just, I guess again, I would just like starve. And then if I did binge, like run 5 miles, it was up in the mountains. So like I just remember running in the mountains and like the snow, like having to burn that last calorie, and that was just it. Like, and I had like my binge clothes. So like if I binged, I knew that I would wear this the next day because it would cover it up. But it was all in my face anyway. Like, and then I had like my cute clothes for when I starved. You know what I mean? Like, so it was just, and I can just remember that. Like all these memories are now coming back. Okay, that's my, and then even now, like if I see pictures, like my family will show me pictures, like, oh, you look lovely. Like it's not even about the weight. You could just tell. And like even if I didn't remember, I could see to my eyes, like that was the morning after a binge. Like just my face would be so puffy. And I had this vivid memory of being like in the sixth floor walk up on St. Mark's Place where I was living, and it was just like sunny out and just freaking hot in the place. It was like summer, and like I just couldn't even go outside. I was just like so like just my hands would swell up. Like that's what I remember. And I think what's coming to mind now is like that's what I don't get in a way. Like when people are saying, don't want to be people that don't want to be body shamed, or like celebrating their weight, that plus sizes and stuff. It's not that I'm judging that. It's just like there's no way you're comfortable. There's no way you're happy. Like even if we're all into fat acceptance or whatever, I don't even know the right terms for it, but like I read all these articles, and it's just, I mean, only when I don't look for them, but just, I'm dumb enough to get like all these journals. So when I read about stuff like that, I'm just thinking that's like just accepting that people are walking around stumbling because they're drunk or shooting up. It's like you can have all the body acceptance, but like I don't know, I just remember the swelling in my hands. I just remember just the disgusting feeling, and just like always wondering, how did this start? How did this start, and what can I do so it doesn't happen again? Always, so it doesn't happen again. And I was a health food junkie, so my ambitions were always just like pure health, but like I could just never get there. Like, what if I just have blah blah blah, like they do in the monastery, or but it just wasn't like that. Like I just couldn't. It was like either my refrigerator was full or it was empty, and then after college, I had a boyfriend, another whack job, and he was like a dry drunk or something, but he kept trying to convince me that I needed to go to OA. And I was like, why would I need to? I'm so skinny. Why would I need to go to OA? And I was skinny because I was with this guy that was a lunatic. And I would even like, and this is something I got in touch with recently too, like he was actually physically abusive with me, which I just recently remembered. And I would prefer that to going home to being alone to my refrigerator, because I didn't know what would happen when I got home I didn't know what was in the refrigerator. I didn't trust myself to not like eat it all. So I'd rather stay at his house. Like that's just kind of how it was. Anyway, I couldn't understand why he wanted me to go to OA at all. And then one day he just said that, I don't know if it was that he said it at a time I was finally ready to hear it, or he said it and he hadn't said those words before, but he said, it's just the way that you control your food. And there was something about it. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. I went to my first meeting, and that was crazy. The person qualifying at that meeting was a film theorist. Thank you. I was a film theorist, and that's what I was going to get my master's in film theory. It's not even like dentistry or something that's a little more obvious, but like the first person I heard qualify was a film theorist, and I was just getting my master's for that. It was crazy. And OA worked great until it didn't work. I can't believe I only have 5 minutes left, so I'm not even at the story. Anyway, it worked amazing. I feel like it was the first time I understood that I had this thing, and it was the first time I like just doing the fourth step too was like the first time I ever looked in the mirror. It was just like, oh my God, this is me, and this is what I do and how I affect people. Like I just remember it just being like the first time I had clarity. I mean, now I have those, unfortunately, I have those like epiphanies a lot now, like, oh shit, I really do that. But then it was just like the first time that I exposed myself to myself. And I feel like that always stayed with me, even when OA kind of stopped working. And then I moved to Israel, started some OA meetings, then eventually had a baby, got into how, did how for a while. That worked until it didn't work. And then I came here to the West Coast. I never imagined I'd be on the West Coast. I still don't feel like I belong here. And then just started going to gray sheet meetings because they were convenient and they were on the OA list at the time, which is how I found it. And it was just like a convenient time and really not far from where I lived. So I would go. People were very accepting. Some people are on this meeting now, and that's it. And then one day I heard the qualification I just needed to hear because I'd been bottoming out on substitute sugars, like seriously bottoming out. Like I couldn't get enough. I don't even know how, I couldn't even pay attention to my child. Like I have vivid memories. It's just like out of my way. I need substitute sugar. Putting it in everything. Oh my God. It was like sickness. And I heard her qualify and I just thought, okay, I'm ready. So she became my sponsor and I started weighing and measuring. And 9 years later, a few jobs later, a few different collection of friends later, a pandemic later, I think there's like so much has happened that I would need to be able to share again, which I probably will. So that's it. All I can say is, oh my God, weighing and measuring, it just gets me through the bad shit and it gets me through the good shit. And I'm finally at a good space now, but that's after like real trying few years. And I don't, not necessarily because of COVID, but like all of a sudden I feel like I'm finally fitting into my shoes, like finally fitting into my shoes. So that's it. And there's so much more that I would like to say, but I really want to hear what everybody else said. And I love you all. And thank you for keeping me abstinent.